Okay, back to operating nozzles. Each nozzle handles differently at the recommended pressure. We know that. Depending on what you're using, each hand line is going to be different. The nozzle pattern may affect the ease of operation. We already talked about that. We talked about your straight streams compared to your fogs. It's going to be you're going to be able to hold a different nozzle. It's going to be easier to hold with the fog than it will be with your straight streams. The velocity and flow rate cause nozzle reaction. We know that. One person can usually operate a nozzle, inch and a half, inch and 3/4, or a smaller hose line. Inch 3/4 or larger hose line requires an additional personnel. Usually inch 3/4 you could probably do with one person, but the inch and a half definitely is a single person thing. Inch 3/4, that's when you start to get somebody backing up you on the line. Your friction loss. So this is friction loss. This is what engineers pay attention to, and pump operators when they're operating these pumps. So everything in your line that the hose goes, kinks, bends, the amount of hose lines, the amount of appliances, these are all friction loss on this line. So as much as you get the little clicker kind of ran out of batteries, but you can see this long line here, you'll have more, you can have the inline pressure gauges tell you what your pressure is, but you're going to lose pressure going through all those kinks and bends through your line and appliances. That's your friction loss. So you'll be pumping a certain amount, and when you get to the end, it will have reduced because of all those kinks and bends and turns and bends and appliances and stuff. So friction loss is increased by rough linings, damaged couplings, sharp bends, number of adapters, length of the hose lay, the hose diameter. So that's what we're saying, like large hoses with a lot of turns and you can overcome or reduce by increasing the hose size, adding another hose line, increasing the pump pressure, removing kinks and sharp bends. So if you have kinks and sharp bends that are causing that friction loss, you can absolutely just straighten those lines out, and it'll definitely decrease it, but it's minimal. So here's our pressure loss and pressure gain. You're going to get pressure gain when you go down. This is gravity. So when you're down the stairs or going down somewhere, you will gain pressure when you go down. So you got to compensate for that too, because you're pumping, and they may be down in the basement or somewhere, and like, oh my gosh, we're getting so much pressure, because they're getting that extra pressure from just the gravity. Now, conversely, when you're going upstairs, you have to add pressure onto that, because to push it up a hill, upstairs, up line, you have to compensate for that, because you're fighting gravity, you're going uphill, right? So much easier to go down, and as long as you understand that, like this is like for the engineers, this is mostly their stuff. Water hammer. We talked about this earlier. How do we prevent water hammer? Yeah, by slowly opening, slowly closing our hydrants and our lines. So it's not just hydrants, it's lines. So if you open up a line real quick or close it real quick. So these are all the different spots you see on here that are affected by the water hammer. So you close this real hard, your main can get hit. You close it, the coupling can get hurt up here. The coupling's here. Your outlets in the truck, your inlets in the truck. Everywhere, so wherever water's coming out, you could damage it with that water hammer. It's a lot of force coming through that hose with the water. That's why we want to close things very, very slow and open them very, very slow. Okay, here's a review question. How can firefighters operating hose lines combat nozzle reaction? Help each other, right? Lean forward, get your hose straps. You help each other, right? What causes friction loss? Bends, kinks, the length of the hose diameter, all that stuff affects it, right? Now we just went over this line. What should a firefighter do to avoid water hammer? Slow, 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 slow. Yes, we want to open and close things very, very slowly. That's what we're going to do all the time, right? Okay, here's your master stream devices, right? They're usually deployed when the fire is beyond effectiveness of the hand line. So we're going to take this. You see that they're outside, right? We're not taking the master stream inside. There's elevated master streams on trucks. There's ones on the ground. That thing is going to be planted and sit, right? That master stream is going to sit there. It's going to be aimed at a window or aimed on a structure. Wherever you're going to go, it's going to be aimed so it can do its job from the outside. We're not carrying it anywhere. The force behind it and the velocity of this is too much. So and there's a need for hose strings in areas that are unsafe. So if you got to get somewhere that the floor's falling through or the ceiling's falling in, this is what you do. It gets your reach, it gets your penetration, it gets everything you need from the outside, right? So you can see this, you can see the master stream placement. You want to be able to get all those spots where the fire is so you can get water in, but you don't want to place, you want to place that outside of the collapse zone, right? Our collapse zone is 1.5 times the building. So you want to make sure you're in a good spot that if that structure collapses, it's not going to hurt you or your crew or anyone that's manning that master stream right there, right? So here is a good spot, maybe a little bit further back, but if it falls, you can still get those areas. The most effective, you want to be where you are the most effective, that you're going to have the least amount of chance to get injured. Okay, the master stream devices they flow a minimum of 350 gallons per minute, right? 1,400 liters a minute. Nothing less than a 2.5 inch supply line. They're small, quick attack devices, may be temporarily supplied by one 2.5 inch line, right? A third 2.5 inch line is required when greater quantities of water are required. Okay? Some devices are equipped for one 4 inch or larger supply line. Okay? And you can see this. So you can see that's the master streams, the elevated master streams on top of the ladder trucks, which we use for those structures. We need to get in and above. And those structures might have, it might be too dangerous for anybody to go in. So you raise it up, get that master strains, and like I said, they're flowing a minimum of 350 gallons a minute. So they're putting some water down there. So you really don't want anybody in there anyway if you're knocking it down with these things, because it's a tremendous amount of water you're putting in that structure. The large amounts of water accumulating, like I said, the large amounts of water, that 350 gallons a minute of water accumulating is going to be, it's more than you can imagine. And if you're just imagine flowing it 5, 10, 20 minutes, I mean, you're putting some water. So water equals what? Weight structures and, collapse and stuff like that. So we want to be really careful and cognizant of the fact that if we're flowing master streams, that's when we're, pretty much pulling everybody. Deployment usually requires a minimum of 2 firefighters. You saw the size of the one that were on the ground. So some of them have the ones you can hammer. You can kind of hammer the pigs into the ground wherever you are. And we've done it in parking lots. You can do it in the grass. But once you set it, that is in place. Like that is what we're doing. That master stream device is seated there. That's where it's going to be. At least one firefighter position at the device unless it is a hazardous position. Okay? Right? So you're deploying it with a couple, and you got to sit someone there. Someone's going to sit there with at least, you got to maintain it. You can't just walk away from it. Because say that thing does come unattached, they're flowing it. You've got up and you've walked away, and those pegs that you've kind of nailed into the ground or hammered it, get loose, and I mean that thing will blast itself to whoever knows, and it's extremely dangerous. There's a lot of water going through it. I mean, 350 gallons a minute is a lot of water. If the situation is too dangerous, it can be anchored into position, like we're saying. It can be anchored, if it's anchored to a point where you're always going to have someone on, and because you don't want it coming loose unless you're not running water. Okay, added water from the master stream operation increases the potential for structural collapse, just like I was saying. When you put that much water in, please be cognizant. And this is not only with your master streams, but this is with any stream. When you're flowing a lot of water into a structure, I think we forget sometimes, when you've got that much water going into it, you're causing weight, and there's always a chance for collapse. So if that structure wasn't going to collapse when you went in, there's a very good chance when you've put all that water into that structure that it absolutely could collapse. So just be very, very cognizant and safe, and just know what's going on around you. Okay, the elevated master streams, which we just said, like the ladders, they can apply water to upper stories as a direct attack or supply for hand lines. They can provide exposure protection, which is what we're doing. So this building's on fire here, and but we don't want these down here to catch on fire. So we're protecting the exposures with this big master stream. You get it on these side walls, and you get one over here, and like I said, that's a tremendous amount of water to protect those structures for sure. Commonly deployed by quints, aerial ladders, and aerial platform sites. And we have our aerial ladder, and that's what we do. We deploy it when we need it like that. Okay, how are master stream devices used? Yeah, and when we don't want to put a firefighter in a dangerous situation, when the structure around it's collapsing, or we don't want to go in there, we can't get anybody in, yes, absolutely, we want to use those master streams. Okay, any questions? Nope, okay. So, thank you very much, everybody, for attending and having patience. I appreciate it. What we're gonna do now is we'll probably hand out a test. It's just a small test. I'll give you guys 10 minutes or so to fill out the test, then we'll go over the answers. We'll all fill it out together. Again, if you have any other questions about anything, you feel free, ask me anytime. If you have any questions that I don't know the answer to, I will find out for you and get back with you. I appreciate your time, and at this time we will, I'll hand out the test and conclude the class.